Yo guys, a lot of you have been asking for my opinion on how to increase your height. Coincidentally, there's this guy called Austin Vane who made a video about this topic. I'm going to review his video today, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the topic. It's a looks maxing channel. He makes videos about how to improve your looks, and supposedly you can also improve your height. We'll see.
If you don't know me, from the ages of about 17 to
If you don't know me,
18, I grew from about 5'9" to about 6'4". So in only
17 to 18, that's exactly when I grew. That's pretty typical, at least today. I remember posting a photo of myself when I was 18, and somebody commented that I grew a lot. I never really cared about my height or anything, but I did, of course, realize that I must have grown then in the last year. That's typically when people grow nowadays. Of course, you can also grow when you're 14, 15 a lot, but 16, 17, 18 is pretty typical. Nothing strange about it.
about a year, I had a pretty big growth spurt that a lot of people are kind of striving for, and a lot of this kind of came down to some accidental practices that I was doing. So today's video is going to be all about my story time. So I'm just going to go into depth. It's going to be a more chill video than my more intense high growth videos. So guys, both my parents are about 5'9", and ever since I was a baby, the doctor always said I'd be about 6 feet tall. So this means that I was able to cap out as much as possible to where now I'm actually 6'5". So maybe you can learn a thing.
If your parents are 5'9" or whatever, then it doesn't mean that you're going to be the same height or a bit taller or a bit shorter. It means that maybe it's their genetics, maybe they were also not fed the right foods as children. Whatever the case, it's absolutely possible to still have the genes inside of you, obviously, from your ancestors. Could be your grandpa, could be your great-grandfather, could be somebody 6 generations behind. It doesn't matter. If the gene is there, you have the potential. And that's probably what he means by maxing out. I don't know.
Or two about how to optimize your own high growth potential in this video. Let's go. Growing up, I never cared about height growth in the slightest bit. My brother was always the tall one. He was always the handsome, attractive one. I never really cared. Whenever I was a kid, man, I was much more obsessed with basketball than anything. I would shoot hoops pretty much all day. And now even in basketball, man, I never wanted.
It's not really normal to think about those kind of topics. That's why I also never thought about it. It's just when you're confronted with the media and everybody around you talking about this topic, then you start caring about it a lot. Obviously, humans in nature never think about it.
To have size. I never wanted to be that big guy. I was always actually the three-point shooter. I was never even wanting to be tall because I would just be behind the three-point line shooting my shots. And now whenever I played basketball, I would play basketball for about 8 hours a day, and I would not really eat much food. So I feel like overall,
that's of course horrible. To grow and to reach your potential, you need to eat a lot of food, especially when you're growing. Of course, it already matters when you're a baby, your health. If you have the genetics of a population which isn't tall overall, such as people from Laos, then you will reach the maximum that you could possibly reach in your lifetime. Of course, if you would be well nourished and your children would be and so on, then eventually they would become taller again. The genes that you have now is because of past famine. Whatever the case, certain populations will only be able to reach a certain height in their lifetime. You can always, of course, improve your health, height, looks, everything with the future generations. And the reason I put tall in quotes is because tall is a word of comparison. There's no such thing as a tall or short human being. If everybody on Earth would be 1 meter tall, then a guy who's 1 meter 20 would be seen as tall. But because most men on Earth are taller than that, 120 seems short in comparison. An ant may believe that it's a huge animal, but when you compare an ant to other insects, when an ant sees another insect for the first time, they may believe that a grasshopper is a giant, but to us, grasshoppers are small, and so on. You get it.
I was pretty much malnutrition. Like, I was very underweight, and overall, I was nowhere near where I needed to be. This is why whenever I was 16, 17, I still looked like a 12-year-old. Like, I still did not hit puberty in the slightest. I had no facial hair. Overall, I looked like a baby. Now, I played basketball up until
People who do sports a lot and eat a bunch of processed carbohydrates, or generally a carbohydrate-based diet, will develop very slowly or not at all in some cases if they never change it.
Till the age of about 17. And whenever I was 17, I realized something, man. I was playing AAU, which is a competitive league in the States, and I realized I'm not going to make it to D1 college. Like, I'm not going to play professionally, so I need to cut this basketball stuff, and I need to find something else. And at the time, my brother was actually the one getting obsessed with self-improvement, self-development, and so he actually forced me to start exercising. He forced me to start drinking raw milk. And now, obviously, you guys...
Wow, yeah, and that's probably the main reason why he grew. I don't know what else he will say, but raw milk is very good for growth. You can argue if it's actually healthy to drink a lot of raw milk because of the growth hormones, but as far as your body getting bigger and taller, it's going to help because the raw milk from cows especially, which is, I assume, what he drank, most people drink cow's milk, is made to create a huge cow. It's for the baby cow to grow into this huge cow, which is why there's a lot of growth hormones inside. That at the same time is also going to age you a lot more. Of course, ideally, if you would be eating raw meat, drinking blood, eating organs, and you would produce them yourself as much as your body will produce, and then you would grow to your potential. It's possible that because of the raw milk, which is an unnatural food for humans, it's milk for cows, there's no arguing that, it could, of course, make you grow taller than you're supposed to, which could create an elongated face. In some cases, in Keith's case, I don't think so. I can't really tell because of the hair. You don't really want to grow beyond your potential. That can never end well. But to reach your potential nowadays, seeing as most people don't have access to any good food, raw milk is more or less the only option for a lot of people out there to get actual raw food. And most people are not afraid to drink raw milk compared to eating raw meat, which is why raw milk is probably the best food which the general population still consumes. A lot of people who are not into raw meat at all still drink raw milk. Of course, the actual general slave population doesn't drink raw milk.
No, like, it's not like a forced thing. It's just like whenever it's your older brother, he tells you to do something, you're just like, okay,
of course, you look up to your family members, especially your brother, father. That's normal.
I'll do this. Like, you're the older brother, you're the big boss, I'll listen to you. And so before anything else, he gets me hooked on raw milk. And so this was actually before I turned 17. I was still playing basketball at the time, but I started drinking a gallon of raw milk every
Great brother. You're lucky, you could say.
single day, just from this farm. It was grass-fed, completely organic, completely natural. If you look into raw milk, some people...
As I said, you can't really call milk from a different animal natural, but I'm not saying that you shouldn't be consuming raw dairy, seeing as most people don't have access to anything else. If you don't have access to raw organs, blood, and so on, then drinking raw milk or consuming any kind of raw dairy is great. Compared to what most people eat today, it's amazing. But of course, still, it is full of these growth hormones, which are going to age you, especially when you eat that stuff after puberty. Again, I can understand why during puberty you would consume a lot of raw milk and raw dairy in general. I totally get it, just because good food is not available today. But if you consume it afterwards, I've seen some pretty horrible physiques. Usually the raw milk is going to create a gut. I've seen this on a lot of people who eat healthy, who even eat a lot of raw meat, but the raw milk destroys their physique long term. If anything, I would recommend doing it through puberty and now and then for hydration, but not every day.
People say it's dangerous. I'm going to be quite honest. I do not care what the research says. I don't care if you think it's dangerous. I'm not telling you to drink it. I'm literally...
The only reason people started pasteurizing milk and cooking food in general is because the meat quality and the milk quality got worse because of what the animals were fed and everything else that's done to them, which I won't get into on YouTube. And because of this, people got food poisoning. And you can easily neutralize and destroy the toxins by cooking and pasteurizing food. That's it. There's nothing else to it. If you have raw milk from a healthy cow, goat, sheep, whatever, then how could you get sick? It's impossible because there's nothing in there that could make you sick. There's no toxins whatsoever.
saying exactly what I did. Do everything at your own risk, but raw milk, here's the dealio, man. Whenever you do not cook the milk, it still contains all of the enzymes to actually digest the milk so that your body can actually absorb it. But when you cook it, you cook out all.
Yes and no. There is lactase in the raw milk, which is probably what he's talking about for digestion. But that's not actually the problem. The biggest problem with dairy products in general is casein. That's what causes this allergic reaction. It's a misconception that it's the lactose, which everybody always talks about.
All the live enzymes, so your body cannot properly digest it the way it's supposed to. That's why everybody is lactose intolerant, because no one really produces the.
It is true that it is, of course, going to be a lot easier to digest it, but people still will get problems with raw milk simply because of the casein alone. Again, it's milk for cows. Of course, you would. It would be weird if you wouldn't get problems.
Lactase. Lactase is supposed to naturally be in the milk. So fun fact of the day, most people cannot handle milk, like 80-90% of the population, because it's cooked. If it's raw, it's actually the way it's intended to be. Now, if it comes from a sick cow, obviously you're going to get.
It also depends a lot on if you kept drinking milk after you were breastfed, as in cows, goats, sheep milk, if you grew up on a farm. Because if you did, then you will tolerate it your whole life, if you didn't have a break in between. It was the same for me. I always drank milk my whole life, pasteurized milk, but I never had any problems, as far as I remember. Then again, do you even think of stuff like that as a child? Not really. When I had a break later on and started drinking raw milk afterwards, I did tolerate it depending on what source it was from, but I could never 100% tolerate it. I only drank it now and then, but I haven't tried raw milk in years now.
Is sick. So it needs to be a healthy grass-fed cow in order to drink the raw milk. Once again, I'm not telling you to do it, and this is what I did. And now coming from that very underweight, malnourished.
It's weird to talk so highly of it, but then say that you don't actually recommend it. You are basically recommending it. Nothing wrong with that. Overall, seeing as most people are not going to start eating raw liver, it is a good recommendation, because even an absolutely slave-minded guy is going to think, raw milk, that sounds kind of yummy, I should try it.
Drinking that gallon of raw milk. Now this gives you the full strength of a baby cow. So at this point, little 16, 17-year-old Austin, who has not hit puberty yet, is taking a gallon of raw.
That's also the thing, you hadn't hit puberty yet, or at least fully, which is why exactly when you started drinking the milk, which could have also triggered it, by the way, because of the growth hormones, your body knew that it's time to grow. If you would have hit puberty when you were 13 and you would have done it now, then not much would have happened. Most likely nothing.
Raw cow's milk intended for a baby cow. So automatically my growth hormone starts kicking off. My testosterone starts kicking off. So very soon my puberty starts kicking in whenever I'm 17-ish. Now I'm still drinking a gallon of the raw milk at this point. And now my brother forces me to go outside.
A gallon of raw milk. That explains that he was getting actual raw nutrients for the first time in his life, most likely.
And start exercising. So what we did was calisthenics every single day for a year. And we actually started with cold.
Calisthenics are not as stressful for the body, not compared to going to the gym and lifting man-made metal for no reason. This is also done for no reason. It doesn't look as stupid as somebody lifting dumbbells up and down. Of course, it's still stressful for the body. It's counterintuitive. It's going to slow down any growing, seeing as your body will use the hormones for your muscles to grow, and the protein will be used to repair your muscles and so on. That's generally biochemically what the nutrients will be used for, more so than for growing. But again, nothing compared to squatting, benching, deadlifting especially. It's a lot closer to what you would do in nature, in the sense that you would be only using your body weight, whatever you would be doing. Sometime you may have to climb a place, and then you would of course only pull yourself up with your body weight. You wouldn't attach extra man-made metal to yourself in that sense. Of course, in general, nobody is gonna, without the actual need, go and pull themselves up for no reason.
Therapy. So we'd be outside. It's like 0 degrees Fahrenheit outside. We're working out shirtless. So this is the cold therapy. We're doing pull-ups until failure. We're doing bodyweight squats. We're doing push-ups until failure. We're doing sprints, which has been scientifically proven.
Sprints, but again, not jogging, not marathon running, which is incredibly catabolic and exhausting for the body. It's insanely stressful, and as we can see, it usually leads to a heart attack.
Proven to boost HCH by up to 2,000%.
It sounded like he said HGH. HGH, you mean? Human growth hormone? He doesn't understand this. The reason the growth hormones are boosted, so to speak, they are needed to repair the damage of the stress. You do understand that, right? It's not as if you will ever use these growth hormones for your height. They are literally only released for the muscles. That's it. It's the same with testosterone after a workout. The testosterone rises and is used for protein synthesis. It's not as if the testosterone rises and then it's used for something else. That's exactly why you feel lethargic, you want to sleep 12 hours a day, and why you can't please your girlfriend. Because you use the testosterone for something else, and now you have lower testosterone. It's not as if you use it up and then you create more. Think about it this way: you get food poisoning and your body produces white blood cells to neutralize the toxins. Does it mean that you have more white blood cells now because you release them? No, you have less. And you need a lot of nutrients to create new ones again for when you get sick the next time. It's the same with growth hormones and testosterone. They are never used for something else. And it's a lot of work for the body to create new ones. Outside of the body, an example would be you buying orange juice for your thirst. You use up half of the orange juice. You now have half left in the cup. Does it mean that you have more orange juice? No, there's literally only half left and you need new oranges to get new orange juice. It may sound like an obvious example, but people don't get this. People don't understand that it's the same in the body. You only use it up, and you only use it up for specifically what you're doing. You can't produce growth hormones for your muscles, but then also grow in height. They are not used for your height. Okay. Now you must understand it.
So we were doing this 5-6 days a week, pretty much this entire year. I was drinking a gallon of raw cow's milk every single day.
And that's exactly why you grew. It's absolutely obvious.
At this point, I started intermittent fasting as well to boost HGH. By the way, guys, everything I did in this, it was all scientifically.
Intermittent fasting doesn't boost your growth hormones. That's exactly what I was talking about. It has been proven in several studies that the growth hormones are released because you're starving. That's what happens when there's famine, seeing as your body is trying to survive. Again, that's why they are produced. They are not produced and then used for something else. It's purely a survival mechanism. It's horrible for you. You should never fast. Fasting is another word for starving. It's exactly the same. It's simply used to essentially manipulate your mind to believe that it's something else, even though what's the difference? There's no difference whatsoever. Human beings and all animals don't starve on purpose. Maybe he won't mention how long he was doing it for, because if you starve for 12 hours a day, it's not really going to make a difference if you drink a gallon of raw milk a day. It's going to make a difference if you actually undereat, and especially if you eat a carbohydrate-rich diet, then you're actually going to possibly stunt your growth. You could actually become shorter and absolutely for sure not reach your potential.
Proven to boost HGH. At this point, my passion for basketball went into my passion for health. So my new obsession was becoming as healthy as possible. So it was not even about body optimization in terms of aesthetics. It was not about anything, man. It was about being as healthy as possible. Now, in addition to this, I would take a lot of vitamin D on a daily basis. And I would also take it with the K2 so that it would absorb properly. On the low days, I'd have like...
I wonder what exactly he was taking, but vitamins D and K2 are very important for your bones and of course also your growth. If you want to have strong bones, absolutely, there's no way around it. It's what will bind the minerals to the bones. If not, you will have weak bones.
5,000 a day. On the high days, I'd have like 50,000 a day. Your body is capable of absorbing a lot more vitamin D than what the government will tell you. And once again, I'm not telling you to do anything in this video. Do everything at your own risk. This is what I did. There was also a philosophy when I was 17.
If you want to get vitamins D, K2, and of course A, also incredibly important for growth, naturally, then you should eat a lot of liver, brain, spleen also, in general for your health anyway. Mostly organs, and you can also pop in some eggs from good quality sources, always, all food anyway. Yeah. Raw milk also has these vitamins, just in lower amounts.
I wanted to grow more muscles. I wanted to grow bigger overall. And me and my brother came to the conclusion that the male lion is like always sleeping.
And just enjoy the sunshine. Lions are famed for sleeping 20, 22 hours a day. Each time I come over here, I call his name.
But he's so muscular, like he's so big. So me and my brother both came to this conclusion that to get as big.
They are like this naturally, the same way humans have a natural physique. They don't need to do anything for that. It's just how nature created them. They eat raw meat. That's it. It's just literally how they look like in nature. The same way gorillas look the way they look. They don't need to do anything about it. And when you look at especially African tribes, especially the ones from a while ago, the ones today are not really living naturally anymore. Very few are. Then you can see how their physiques are. And that's exactly how humans are supposed to look like. We are not supposed to look like so-called athletic people, bodybuilders. Obviously, none of that. This is brainwashing from the media.
Big as possible. You need to sleep as much as possible. So I made it a point. When I was 17, man, I was doing online school.
Sleep in general is very important. If you don't get enough sleep, it could, of course, keep you shorter, for sure. Because not enough sleep means more stress, and more stress means less growing, always. Which also means that exercise, of course, means less growing. Who knows if he couldn't have become even taller if he didn't do the calisthenics. But again, he wasn't going to the gym, lifting super heavy.
I did not have to wake up super early just because I was on top of my stuff. Like I made sure it was done. So I would sleep in. I would sleep like 9, 10 hours every single night. I was completely optimizing my sleep. And I told myself, I'm a lion. Like I'm going to maximize my sleep no matter what. And I slept like a baby, man, for years. And I think this is one of the biggest factors to how I grew taller. You talk to anyone about the growth spurt, about whenever they grew taller. A lot of times, man, they were sleeping like crazy. Now, in addition to the raw milk, man, like I said, I was becoming...
In sleep, all of the repairing happens, which had to happen in his case because he was stressing his body with the exercise. That wasn't actually helping him. His body was focusing on his muscles, which is counterproductive, seeing as he wanted to become taller.
Obsessed with health. I wanted to become as healthy as possible. So I started eating as much healthy food at the time as I thought possible. So I would only eat wild-caught fish.
Oh, wow. There you go. That's also it, 100%.
Grass-fed steaks, pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed butter.
Yes. This is so awesome. He doesn't even need to go on. We know exactly why he reached his potential. It's just so obvious.
Lots of organic, raw nuts, like everything I ate.
The nuts wouldn't help you, by the way, but the rest are really good.
Was the healthiest thing that you could possibly get. And I had a copious amount of saturated fats as well. I was eating...
Exactly. Yeah, you did almost everything right. As far as food goes, you pretty much did everything right.
Tons and tons of calories, guys, but my body was able to handle it because I was growing so much. If you're not growing, like if you're not growing taller, you cannot have like 4,000 calories a day, which is basically what I was doing. Like I'd have like 2,500 calories a day from the milk, then I'd have an additional 15 to 2,500 calories a day just from all this other healthy stuff. And getting all these vitamins, getting all these nutrients, proteins, it was just completely capping my body to where like it has no choice but to grow and become as big and tall as possible. So it was like that, man, for like a year, and then all of a sudden I noticed I was quite tall. I was like 6'4", and everywhere I go, people were like, "Oh my gosh, Austin, you're so tall now." And to this day, it is still the most annoying question to me whenever people ask, "Oh, how tall are you?" "Wow, you're so tall." All due respect, I think it's quite annoying. I mean, I'm tall. Why does it matter the specific height? Just accept the fact that I'm tall and let it go. But yeah, and then 18, 19, I started getting a lot more into women, female nature. So instead of focusing on health, my obsession turned into fitness and getting as aesthetic as possible. So then I stopped trying to be as healthy.
Women care about your face, and I'm sure that you know that, at least deep down.
As possible. I started doing some crazy bulks with all these Pop-Tarts and pizza. And I got freaking jacked, man, for the first time.
Oh, the long hair looked a million times better. Wow, long hair always looks better, but yeah, 100%.
At like 18. So that's my story, man. This is what worked for me. I was obsessed with optimizing my health, and it just so happened to be at the perfect time, at the start of my puberty. And so it all coincided together perfectly to where I became a giant, completely by accident. Grew about 5 inches above what the doctors always said I was supposed to be. So it's pretty cool, man.
It's pretty clear why he grew. Let's sum it up. He started growing when he was 17, which, as I said before, is a normal age today. 15, 16, 17 happens all of the time. It's not as if you could do this and grow when you're 30 years old, but he has videos which say that you can do this and grow at any age. He also talks about stretching. I've never seen any proof for that. But what he did at the age of 17 did, of course, help him. The food that he was consuming, especially the raw milk, which, as I said before, isn't necessarily the best option, is, of course, what made him reach his potential. If he would have eaten cornflakes, bread with soy milk, then he would be 6 feet tall maximum, maybe shorter, and he would look a lot worse in general. He would have generally not developed, obviously. And the exercise didn't, of course, help him, but it seems as if he was trying to imply that. There's nothing in any way beneficial about it in general, but especially when it comes to your height. You actually use up all of the hormones which you could be using for your height for the muscles, to repair them, to create new muscles, the fibers. That's it. That's why they are released. That should be clearly understood. They are not released and used for anything else whatsoever. You only use them up. It's never a good idea to use up something that you may need for something else, which in this case he did, of course, because he was going through puberty. Then he also recommended eating meat, eggs. Most of the foods that he ate were really good. If he would have also eaten some liver for the vitamin A, which is ideal for growing, then maybe he would have grown even taller. And if he wouldn't have exercised, then maybe he also would have grown an inch taller, a few centimeters. He said that he lived like a lion. He did the calisthenics, but then he chilled all day long. Most people don't have the freedom to do whatever they want all day long, to simply chill. That's why it worked. He also consumed a lot of food in general, as in macronutrients, but then he also focused on the micronutrients because his brother told him to. Great brother, as I said. Without the brother, this wouldn't have happened. That's why it worked out. It was really almost only the food. And the sleep, of course, is also important. That's all that you need. You need to live as naturally as possible, have a stress-free life, or if you have some kind of stress, then as he did it, chill the rest of the day. Simply rest as much as your body tells you to. Simply completely do exactly what you actually want to do and eat as much food as you want to eat, exactly the food that you want to eat. First, give your body a taste of the food so that your body can know if it wants the food. You're not going to crave liver, for example, if you don't give your body a taste of liver. How could you? But once you do, then your body will ask for it, especially when you're growing. Trust me, you will be craving liver like crazy. Get it from a healthy animal. It will be the most delicious thing you will ever try in your life. He grew because he was in puberty. He ate a lot of food. He ate nutrient-dense food. And he rested a lot. That's it. That's why he grew. You cannot do this when you're 30 years old. Some people say that they grow a few centimeters, even an inch, but that's usually because their posture improves. Realistically, this will only work if you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, sometimes 19. Some people grow when they're 20, but it's rare. If you didn't grow yet and you're still expecting it, then do this. That will actually work. For the most part, his recommendations were good. Thanks for watching.